Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Prince George's County Memorial Library System's virtual events. My name is Nick. I am the COO for Communication and Outreach, and so grateful that you have tuned in. We apologize for the slight delay today, but we're very excited that we were able to get BJ online here and our colleague London, who's going to be doing the interview. London is one of the area managers here in the system, and she oversees several of our branches and is a fabulous colleague. You might see her around at the Spalding's branch, Glenarden, and elsewhere in the system. She also has been doing some really awesome virtual programs for us throughout the COVID time, which continues on and on and on and on. But we're masking up and staying safe. So just a reminder that this series is every Thursday, but we're going to be taking a break next Thursday for Thanksgiving. We hope you enjoy a safe holiday and follow all the guidelines for that. And then we'll resume on December 3rd, and Roberta Phillips will be back that day to chat about our new strategic framework. If you have any questions as we go throughout the program, type them into the chat wherever you're watching us, and we'll be able to share those with London and BJ. And without further ado, turn it over to London. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Nick. All right. Well, thanks for joining us today, BJ. I just have a brief introduction of all the wonderful things that you're doing. So for our viewers, William BJ Paige is a lifelong native of Prince George's County, Maryland, where his lifetime of work includes the documented application of community-based workforce development and amplified outreach to the Baltimore-DC Building Trades team. He was most recently the director of Run Hope Work, a workforce development organization that partnered with local building trades to recruit new apprentices from underserved and at-risk communities in Washington, D.C. and PG County. As part of that noble effort, BJ worked with the building trades to help develop and expand the workforce model that has proven to be successful, a successful way of placing candidates into the apprenticeship programs. He is also a proud veteran of the United States Air Force, where he served in security forces during the war in Iraq. In addition, BJ has many professional accomplishments and accolades, including top 40 under 40 for Prince George's County and the Maryland General Assembly official citation for his community commitment. BJ is committed to expanding opportunities in the union construction industry in his community by connecting the Apprenticeship Readiness, Apprenticeship, and the Contractor to build the local resident workforce development pipeline that is needed to help the community prosper. Special thanks to staff member Darian Cole from the Spalding's branch for connecting us with Mr. Page. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yes, great. Let's jump right into it. So, what is Baltimore-DC Building Trades, and how did you come to work there?
Man, so the Baltimore-DC Building Trade Council is, in an easy way to explain, kind of the big brother to all of the local unions. So out of all of the 18 unions right here in Prince George's County, DC, and Baltimore, we are like the big brother, literally. So we have leadership in each one of them, and the unions and trades are things, and we'll get into it, I'm sure, are like plumbing, painting, electrician, operating engineers, all those things. If you think about building a home or building a business, each one has a specific trade. So though they have their own directors and their own leadership, we are the voice sometimes in a liaison between the affiliates and the locals and the people in the community, businesses, and political figures.
Nice. And how did you come to working for them?
Yeah, so it's weird, man. So over the past, more than a few, I guess you can say almost 8 to 10 years in that time frame, I've always been a part of some type of organization in the community, whether it be nonprofit, for-profit, or just anything in the workforce development space. And my job normally was to get people from our communities, normally in the underserved or at risk. Sometimes people say, though I don't like the term at risk, I use underserved as much as I can, because we're all at risk. Underserved communities, since I always was kind of the person to get them as a feeder in a program to pass middle class, whether it be through the unions or whether it be through other high demand career fields. Construction was always in the top 5. So I was always partnering with the trades, and as I began to form those relationships, the need that they were looking for was somebody who can speak to the political leaders, speak to the community, and fulfill the job. And I'm blessed to be able to be here, and then that I fell into it.
Oh, that's awesome. It sounds like you're very passionate about workforce development and connecting people to work, because, that is meeting basic needs. If people don't work, they can't take care of their family, they can't get food, so, I commend that. That's so awesome. So tell us about your path to workforce. The education required. How did you get here?
Girl, they're gonna think that we set this question up. So I want all the listeners to know that there's no clear path to workforce development or through workforce development or even into a career. So I've been named or deemed the career options guru, right, for DC and Prince George's County. I think the reason that I got into workforce development is when I was coming out of the military. I came out kind of rough coming out of the military. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. What my career would look like. I was in security forces, didn't necessarily want to be in law enforcement. And that was kind of the only career I was in the civilian world that at that time that I knew. So I've done almost if we talked about a job I've done, I was the grocery store manager. I was a hotel night audit. I was a car salesman. I was in hospitality and leasing apartments. I worked for Washington Gas, a host of careers in my mind. At each time, I know this was it. This is my career. This is my career. And I didn't know, what focusing on your strengths were. I didn't know what work, life balance, happiness, how important that was. And I wasn't quite grasping the importance of a career. I just wanted the job at the time to get me through and take care of my family, like a lot of people coming from Prince George's County. So I fell into workforce development looking for a job. I was visiting what was now, or it was still Prince George's County Economic Development Corporation. I was visiting over there, getting one of my nonprofits, Boys to Bow Ties, some contracts to help the underserved youth in Prince George's County. And the president at the time was like, "Man, I like what you're giving, but have you ever thought about workforce development?" And I thought workforce development was human resources. I'm like, I ain't human resources, which it is a form of workforce development there. But what we're speaking on today is career paths or career options. So I fell into it as I was searching for a contract for my own needs, and I never looked back.
Oh, that is so great. I've heard of the Boys in Bow Ties.
Good.
So, yeah, I've definitely heard of that. Because like Nick mentioned, I'm the area manager for Spalding's, Hillcrest, Glenarden. So I've definitely heard about that.
We spend a lot of time in all of the above.
I love it. I love it. We got to reconnect after this.
Yeah.
So you talk about how the Baltimore-DC Building Trades helps to support and link people to work. But let's talk about the youth in particular. How can they get involved with the apprenticeship programs?
Oh my God! So you can keep the conversation on the building trades, because we try to attract youth and young adults, both male and female, as early as high school. But we're trying to get to a point where we can interact as far back as middle school, because if you can find out what your strengths are at the earliest age, how good and how easy life would be to transition straight from high school into a career. Even so, go to a little deeper. So we already have a program that's coming out of High Point High School. We're going to obviously try to talk to school boards so we can extend that to other schools, where those students are already starting the process of what it would look like to be in construction. So the Building Trade Council attached with other companies, construction companies, and we teach them the skills, and we get them in what we call a pre-apprenticeship opportunity. And just last year, I'm excited that 8 graduates out of the CT program, and I think 7 got placed. It would have been all 8 of them that got placed into the local unions, but it was a documentation issue. So the opportunity of getting into the schools and getting the youth and young adults to the word as I use is exploration. Let them see what it looks like to know what the trades are and what plumbing is and what electricians is and what painting is and glazing and operating, just to see it early. Some adults don't even know what some of these trades are. So it opens up the career opportunity at an early age, and they can start it just like any other career.
I love that, because when you go to like a college, you take all of these classes, various classes, to try to find what your niche is, what your interest is. So that's a similar thing. Take a little bit of each and see what you like.
Exactly.
So that's awesome.
Exactly.
Okay. What's important for young people to know about entering a trade as a strong option if college or military, like the route you went or the route I went, isn't an option?
I'll be selfish in the answer, and I think that the union should be right even in the conversation with college and entrepreneurship and military, because if it's truly something that you want to get into, like I said earlier, it's a clear pathway through the middle class. And I'm not saying it just for financial reasons, but you also have health care from day one. You also have pension from day one, and it's paid for by the union. And you don't have to wait. And it's no shade, as they say, to college, but you don't have to wait the 4 years to start getting the money. You can earn while you learn with the apprenticeships program. But the one thing that I would like the youth to know is that it's a real option. If I think about it, how it was for me growing up, coming through the 80s and the 90s, it was only a few people in my eyes making money, and people coming out of the trades was one of those options. Somewhere in between the 90s and now here we are today, 2020, that got lost. And I got an idea where it's not really the place to have it in this conversation, but I got an idea where it got mixed up. And it's people like you and I, it's our job, our duty to show the youth and young adults that there are options out here in the trades. And through this Zoom right now, we have a fair shot of, changing somebody's life just by listening.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, because, like you said, when I was in school, it was like, I didn't even hear, maybe a military representative may have came to a career event or something, but it was preparing you for college. It was college. And as we know, it's not for everybody. And I think the connection was made. You go to college, you make this certain type of money. But we know that that's not true. There's some flexibility in that. You can prepare yourself in other ways to make or even more money. So
I got some serious statistics on that, but we can talk about that offline.
Awesome. So this is it's been an interesting year for everybody. What have you been seeing in from your perception where you are when we're looking into workforce? What are the trends that you've noticed now during the pandemic? COVID. What's are people taking more advantage of these programs now? What's happening in workforce world?
In the workforce world, what I've noticed. Well, let me just say this on that conversation. Construction has not stopped. If anything, we kind of boomed a little bit, even through COVID. So if you happen to be a part of the union coming out of high school, like those individuals out of High Point I just told you about, they haven't missed a beat since the pandemic started. So that's a great plus for the industry. And I want people to know how important that is, because everybody didn't have that opportunity in their career field. But for workforce, the trends I noticed is I think that a lot of people, regardless of what age, what background, what gender, have had a thought of what it would be like not to have the job that they had or career that they had. So it gave them a fair opportunity to look into other career fields, whether it be just surfing the net, whether it be some of the free classes that, because it was COVID, a lot of classes, and I'm not just talking about college, I mean certifications of any sort were reduced in order for people just to come out of the pandemic in a better place. So I think it gave people a real eye-opener, dang, is this career really, something that I can sustain if the worst thing happened again? Is this job really secure? It really gave you a chance to think. And what I've noticed is People are taking advantage of opportunities more. They're reaching out to people like you and I to say, hey, tell me about that career field or tell me about this job, so they can have an option or a second career option if where they are did not work out because of the pandemic.
Yeah, I think we are kind of anticipating. So we're not open to the public right now. We're offering curbside services. So, but we have a workforce development team that kind of originated during the pandemic. And
wow.
We are working on, being a greater resource virtually. How do we pivot to people coming to the desk and asking us about jobs and how to apply for jobs and cover letter help and resume and all of that? How do we pivot to providing that same assistance virtually? So that's what that team is working on, having a dedicated site, a space for people to visit and everything. So it is, and then the entrepreneurship too. I mean, people are taking this opportunity to say, well, I'm at home, I'm teleworking, but maybe I could look into that business plan, that idea. Maybe I could put some more effort into that idea that's been on the shelf for a while. So and matching skills. So another thing we talk about in our workforce group is transferable skills.
You took go.
I mean, so it's a time for us to be like, what can we do? Teach people like, hey, you've done this at that job. You probably could do that job,
Yeah.
So
Let me give you guys something to add. So I know when I think about my substance when it comes to my workshops that I normally give for workforce development, what I never had in there in my arsenal to train or to teach was, how to conduct yourself on a Zoom or how to conduct yourself, on a teleconference. I've never had that in any of my workshops ever in life. But obviously today's time, we have to really think about that. So if you have not added that, any of the listeners as well, if you have not added that to your toolage or your capability of learning, or even to share with your network, reach out to myself or the system so we can help you out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even myself, I had a little technical difficulty signing in today, and I'm on Zooms all the time. So it's always good to brush up.
Yeah, absolutely. Who would have ever thought that, we wouldn't be having face-to-face meetings? How do you interview in a setting like this? It's because people are interviewing through Zoom. So, do you need to show up differently? How does that happen? Like, what does your background look like? All of those things. It's important. Are people in the background? Are the kids going to come tap you? And, it's important.
The dogs, the cats.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot to worry about. You got to think about all of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Nice. So thinking back when you were younger, are there any opportunities and or resources that you wish you would have taken advantage of? I mean, of course there are. So just tell me about that.
I was going to say. So one of my favorite quotes that a lot of people know me for is, your network is your net worth. By that, it basically means, the last 5 people in your text, last 5 people in your email, your Snapchat, your DM, they all show your value. If you don't like it, you're the only person that can change it. So I wish I would have understood the depth of that quote a little more when I was 18 or 21. Because by that, I mean, if you reach out to the last few people that you've talked to for the day, and they aren't adding value to your life, not even just your work life, but your life period, you need to change those last 5 people. And where that helps you in your workforce journey is if you up your friendship. And I'm not telling you to say bye-bye to your friends that you had years past, but if you up them conversations, you're likely to up yourself in your professionalism. You're likely to up yourself in career opportunities. You're likely to be able to have a quicker chance of getting to your actual career that you're on this earth to do. So I would just say always, listen to what you know is best. Your resources will come. They will come with your network. They will come when you tune into opportunities like this with the library system. They'll just come as long as you up yourself. Don't stay stagnant. Prince George's County, I'm born and raised happily. Forestville, Maryland, best snickerdoodles in the county.
Yes.
You got to realize it doesn't even matter where you are. It doesn't matter, what your education is. Just make the best of every person that you talk to and make the best of every opportunity that comes in front of you. Because it'll be that one opportunity that you missed that'll change your life. And let me just give a quick story on that. I had an opportunity coming out of high school to put $50 towards this thing called vitamin water. And that was in 1999. $50. A buddy of mine was in the NFL. And I was like, I ain't spending no $50. I need my $50. But if I had a better network back then, I would have understood the value in that. And maybe or maybe not, I would have gave the $50. But if I did, I'd probably be a multimillionaire today when it sold years ago. I like giving that story every now and then.
Yeah, that's so true. And then, when you're young, you think you know it all. You're like, oh, I want to go work at the mall. Meanwhile, your family's telling you, yeah, go do an internship or, and you're like, that's not enough money. Not understanding, like sometimes it takes some levels to get to where you want to be. You kind of want it quickly. So, yeah, I agree with that. So I don't have any more prepared questions, but I wanted to ask about Run Hope Work, because I was looking at the website and it seems like a great organization, but a part of it was the hope part that really stood out to me. I mean, yes, connecting people to the jobs is great, but then giving them the confidence is, I think, equally important to be able to show up.
Not sure where he went, but maybe he will refresh. Fun. Technology, 10 months into the pandemic. It's all good. Let me shoot him a text message. There he is.
Oh.
You're back.
That was my end?
Yep. It's okay. No worries. You're good. Strange things are in the air today. It's totally fine.
I was talking like crazy too.
Oh man. Okay. So yes, I was saying Run Hope Work, and the 3 tenets. I agree. I love all of them, but the hope one really stood out to me because I think when people are in a situation where they're looking for work or trying to figure out where they're going to go, they need that confidence to say, you got this. So talk your workshops with that organization and such, just to give people the confidence and tools they need to keep going. Because one of the things we talk about here is job retention. Like, yes, we can help you fill out the application. And we never know what happens when people leave, and sometimes people come back and say, hey, I got the job. Sometimes we keep seeing the same people. So it's like that bridge that needs to happen with, like, this is how you keep the job. So what do you have any tips about that? Like what people should focus on once they have even the apprenticeship, do you have any tips or suggestions for job?
I do have a few things, and I want people to kind of hear it clear, and it's all opinionated. I think the biggest thing is knowing, a plan. Is this your career? Is this your job? And how important is it to you in your life? And I say that because some people look at it, oh, this job ain't nothing, but this job is paying for all your bills right now. I mean, you wouldn't be able to afford some of the things that you are doing, whether it be eating out, paying your rent or your mortgage, your cell phone. So this job is more important than you think sometimes, because I think especially with people who haven't found what they believe their career is, they're like, oh, I just found another job. It's not quite that simple. So I'll say just plan accordingly. If you know that this job is not your end game, you still need to do the best you can, because you may find that person that's at your job, your network is your network, to put you in your career opportunity. So don't look at it. And I'm gonna use fast food industry as an example. I was just at a chain, and the young lady was helping me at the through the microphone. I got to the drive-through, and she was still there. She was super polite, and she said, I know I got to hurry up and get off to go to my next job. In a short conversation, I asked, what do you want to do? And she told me what she wanted to do. And she's now in one of our trade opportunities because she was polite. I asked, and the conversation came out. So I'll say the best advice is take everything that you do serious. You never know who's watching, so don't downplay your job. Focus on your strengths, regardless of where you are. And I'm gonna use an admin at a business for another example. If you're doing that admin and you know that you are great with people, but you are terrible, say, on the computer, you need to kind of see if it's an opportunity where you can shift your job to be more with the people than on the computer, and vice versa. So focus on your strengths and drive it crazy until somebody finds you another opportunity. Once you're in your career, the retention piece is important because you may not have another opportunity to get back into that career. So don't take that for granted. Always reach out to your supervisor or whoever your superiors may be and be honest with them. If something's coming up at home, if you're not feeling well today, it's a new world. It's not like it was, when I first got into the workforce. You can be honest sometimes and say, hey, I'm just not feeling it today. And what are my options? They're going to tell you, hey, you don't have an option. You got to come to work. Or they say, hey, they might say, stay home. They might say, well, exactly what is it? We have resources. So you just never know. So always be open and willing to talk about your issues. And the last thing is never, never, never quit. Don't stop. Don't think that this is the end game and I can't take it anymore. Keep going to that job until you can't go no more, because the best way, and I know some people are going to be like, why are you saying that? The best way to find a job is while you're at a job. So don't leave your job thinking that you're going to find something else. Keep working until you find what you need and what you find to be your career.
I would agree with that. And for me, I think mentorship is important too, especially young. Like, I wish that early on I would have found a mentor to help me at the beginning. I mean, I have one now, but even during that internship or apprenticeship stage, somebody to bounce things off of and help you say, okay, well, you can vent to me, but what we gonna do? That person. Sometimes that person.
Yeah. I agree with you on that. That's a game changer. Just having a soundboard that's been through something similar that you've been through can be a literal game changer to your career. They can tell you where you're slipping sometimes, where you need to change up some things, where you should focus on bettering your craft, whatever it may be, or even just show you a better way or better solution of doing your job. So I agree with you 100%.
Absolutely. And while we focus on the things that we're good at, we can take some time to develop things we're not. We want to focus on the good, but understand, like, okay, it's some areas where I can do some more in,
Agree. Oh, I agree.
That's big,
Today.
Awesome. So we're a little bit before Q&A time, but I wanted to turn it over to anybody who may be watching to pose their questions. And Nick, I'm not sure if you want me to read. Oh, okay. So Miss Vivian is asking, has COVID stopped you from doing anything?
It has. More on a personal level, Miss Royal. So a lot of my outreach has changed. A lot of what I would normally do to communicate to the underserved community has changed. It's already hard enough trying to find that population of people that not only need the help, but want the help. Not only that want the help, but has the credibility and the credentials to start their new career path. It's so hard to engage because of COVID-19. That's why I spoke earlier and said if we can figure out how to have some training for the community, free training for the community, to show them how to communicate and navigate when it comes to Zoom, especially with the younger generation. And I'm not down on them at all, as most of them know. I love helping the younger generation, but they're more accustomed to what's hip, what's happening in the present, as I say. So that what's hip. So they're more so on technology that's not normally used for professionalism when it comes to, your laptop or your smartphone. They're used to just holding it up and this is how they interview sometimes. Like, hey, I'm like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So if anything, Ms. Royal, just communicating with the community has been tough.
So have y'all thought, or have you thought of any ways to kind of pivot the communication? So I guess you're used to the face-to-face, you can go have an event, have an outreach, go and see the people and interact. But have you thought of something like a Twitter account? Have you thought of any ways to meet them where they are? Because you talked about what they're into. Have you thought of?
Totally, yes. So social media has always been my go-to. So I 100% meet them where they are as far as communicating. But again, when we talk about those transferable skills, sometimes that can be negative transferable skills. So once I meet them where they are, I try to get them away from that platform so they won't associate. If I send them to you guys, for example, if I met somebody that I know we talked on social media, he or she is 21 years old, and I'm like, hey, call the library system and they got you. And then they call you, and we haven't had that conversation of how to present yourself nowadays because of COVID. That relationship, not mine, obviously, but the relationship with that particular young man or young woman may never go further than that one conversation with you guys just because they fumble coming in the door.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we don't do that on purpose as people trying to help, but we deal with people all day. So it's like, oh man, BJ was terrible on that call. I call him next week. It's just not true. It is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, and presenting yourself professionally is something they're going to have to learn in a COVID or non-COVID environment, So it's like,
but it's different though, London, right? So it's different in person, because in person I can almost show you right in person, like, hey, you need to sit with your shoulders up, put your shirt on, make sure your button up. I can show you versus just telling you, because now I got to spend an extra couple minutes prepping you on the phone. Like, man, look at you, look at your shirt, look at your background, and it's time consuming when it comes to somebody like you and I trying to help. But we can tell a mass group the same thing in 5 or 10 minutes. And now we got to do this individual. It's just tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's just
tough. It's tough. But I mean, how fulfilling is this work, though?
I love it. I live for it.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. Just in the library, it's not funny, but staff are like, oh, help this person with their resume 5 times, or they've been here all week. And I'm like, oh, well, that's great. But then like in 2 weeks, they're like, you remember that person I was so frustrated about? Like they came back and they thanked me, they got the job. And, so I always have to flip that back on them. I'm like, we do such good work. I know it can be frustrating helping people with the skills we already have, because like, we're like, what do you mean? What is right click? It's right click, you know what I mean? But
that was good.
So fulfilling. It's so fulfilling to, know that you're helping people every day. I mean, because if we work every day helping people find work, and other things as well, but to know that that's your job, to help people meet their basic needs. I mean, people have children, people are struggling with, it's a food desert in this area as far as, so it's I love what we do. And I love talking to people like who share a passion and interest in this type of work. We are public servants in a lot of ways.
Man, that's a fact. I live for it. And I know most people in the space, normally something in your upbringing or your adolescence or your childhood, something happened that pained you to want to do more, right? I'm not saying it's always negative, but something happened. And every person that I try to help, and I try to find that me in them, like, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And if I find that younger me in them, then none of the attachment will be together forever until you make it. And I think that's the approach that I really want the listeners that may be listening that's in our space of workforce development to always remember that there's something in that individual that you're helping that either is or could have been you at that age. So don't ever miss that. And I don't take it for granted when I help anybody. And that's, I think, what excites me every day.
So you said something about their mind forever until they found a job. I'm glad you said that. So what vehicles do you all have in place to follow up, to make sure that, you know, this person has the support they need all the way until I mean, I guess the apprenticeship is a set amount of time, but what happens after that? How do we follow up? How do we make sure they actually, you know, get the job?
Yeah, every organization is different, and even in the trades, you know, every trade is different. But in most cases, once you join the union is one big family in itself. So outside of just being a member of the union, you always have you know, some type of journeyman. If you're an apprentice, you have a journeyman that'll help you get into your next phase, because one day you'll be a journeyman, and then one day you'll exceed on to be what they call a master, and the master basically is the overseer of each project. So as you grow, you always have that person ahead of you who always wants you to be there, because in order for the unions to keep going and us to keep having these wonderful opportunities when it comes to work, healthcare, pension, we need you to be able to do our work when we're gone.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I really, really love about the local union, especially here in DC and Prince George's County. There is a family-oriented group within each local union. But hold on, I'll speak outside of the union, because it's not just the union. Outside of the union, a lot of jobs have mentorship programs within the organizations, but they don't really voice it as much because it's time consuming for a lot of parties. So I would say normally ask your HR, your human resources, I don't care where the job is there anybody I can attach myself to as a mentee to help me grow in the organization? If they don't have something in place, you just put something on the HR's heart where they probably going to put it in place. So don't be afraid to ask. And if they don't have one, come back to the library system, let them know they have a host of community-based organizations that will be able to help you out, and they'll reach out to people all across the county and make sure that you're attached to somebody.
That, or just the person you connect to, you know, that know a little bit more than you, and you know, you find yourself asking them questions and bouncing things, you know, hey, you know, my mentor, you know, that's how I did it. It wasn't so formal. It was like at a conference, it was like we kept interacting, and I was like, you know what? I know you live states away, but
oh, London, I think we should speak on that real quick. So the mentors, I have two now. I'll be honest, I didn't have any coming up in the ranks of where I am today. Sad but true. But where I am today, I do have a couple. I have a few, some hands-on, some not, but every last one of them I've asked. And you just said the same thing. You asked that person. So don't be afraid to say, look, man, I like what you got going on over there, London. Can you be my mentor?
Mm-hmm.
And most cases, if that person is in, you know, they see the value in it. If they can help you, they can. If they can't, they're going to put you with somebody who can.
Mm-hmm. And you can have several, like you said. Oh, that would be amazing. That would be amazing. Like, you don't want to keep calling the same person. That's great. And then they can provide different things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Somebody may be able to help you on the leadership tip if you want to go that way. Somebody can help you, you know, just dealing with coworkers or whatever, you know. So there's various needs and various.
Yeah, I agree.
That's awesome. I love it. Okay, do we have any more questions? I do not see any. Okay. All right. So let's see. What can we go with that? How many? Okay, so does it work in a cohort as far as Baltimore-DC Trades? How does that work? What's the process?
Good question. That was actually
a lot of people at once.
Great question. With the trades, again, each affiliate, or for the sake of conversation, each trade has their own requirements and their own entry points. Some you can call once a month and check the availability. Some twice a year. Some once a year. But it's a reason for that. So they got to make sure that they have the training available for you. They got to make sure that they have the opportunity for work for you, and that, you know, there's fair training and adequate training opportunities for you. So, but they all have similar entry requirements.
Okay.
High school or GED is normally a big one, though a lot of them have taken even that away. High school and GED. Drug test is definitely super high on that list. Been able to pass the drug test. And then in a few cases, it's math and reading. That math and reading sometimes is important, especially with the trades more than people think. Me and the president, Steve Corden, were just talking about something today with the glazers. The glazers is glass, just glass and doors, make it just for short. And I don't think people realize how much math is involved in glazing. So you got to know these angles and whatnot. So in that trade, math is way more important than other trades. That's no discouragement if you don't feel like you're strong in it. It's just you need to know up front before you get into it. But those are the basic requirements, man. It's no real turnaways or real no's. If you can do those few things and show up to work ready, you will be successful in a trade. So
attitude is important. Like, how do you show up? You know,
even
if you don't know it all, if you're willing to learn and you come off as, positive, people are more willing to work with you.
You will be successful in the building trades if you can show up on time. You'll be successful. You'll be successful. And and look, the fun part is for those who listening on the recruitment side, you'll make a lot of money really fast. You'll be able to have health care really fast. You'll be able to have pension really fast. These are things that happen quick.
Yeah, because health care is expensive.
Yeah, and we pay for it.
Yeah, that's big.
Big deal.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, well, I guess we can wrap up. I don't see any more questions. Thank you so much for joining me today. This was such a good conversation, and I'll be reaching out to you in the next few weeks for sure.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted?
It is.
Okay.
I'm gonna say this, man, because I know how it's been working so far this year with these type of conversations on this platform. If anybody is listening to this and they need the extra push or extra help, please reach out to the library system so you can get my information so I can help. And I'll just go ahead and say it now. Maybe in 6 months or less, we can have a part 2 just to see where we are with the world. And because things change in workforce development continuously. And I want to always add value to anybody that's hearing my voice.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for the work that you're doing in the community.
Likewise.
We're all in this together. Library is a community resource. You're a community resource. We're just trying to connect people to jobs and improve their way of life.
I've been going to Spalding Library since at least 1990.
Oh, I can't wait till you can come and look at the new refresh that we had during COVID.
I'm gonna hold you to it.
Yeah. You'll have to compare. Like, that's different. Yes, it's a new brand. Great. So thank you so much, and we'll be in touch. And thanks for everybody who has joined us this afternoon for our conversation.